Mrs. Ada B. Adams, I'm very happy that you decided to participate in our oral history project at Jackson State College. Could you tell us a bit about yourself, something about your life's work and all?
Well, my first work after graduating from high school was teaching in the public schools in Rankin County. And I taught in Rankin County for 14 years. And in 1938, there was an opening for a home demonstration agent in Rankin County. The former agent was Miss Gertrude Carter, my sister, and I was appointed to fulfill that position, which I held until 1962, when I became ill and I retired on disability.
Now, as you retired as a home demonstration agent, where you worked for the United States, and during that time you worked with the United States Department of Agriculture.
Yes.
At that time. Now, how did your education at Piney Woods prepare you for this type of work?
Piney Woods School was known as an industrial school, offering opportunities for boys and girls to work their way. And in that, Dr. Jones emphasized the equal training of the head, heart, hands, and health. And that type of education prepared me for working with rural people and trying to help them better their living conditions. And one of our major projects, in-home demonstration work, was food and nutrition, which we found that many of our people were ill-fed. And this work, I was able to improve the food conditions and family living.
Well, that's very interesting. Could you tell us how you first heard about Piney Woods or describe the circumstances?
When I first heard about Piney Woods, it was through my brother, J.C. Carter, who went to Piney Woods as an accountant. And he sent a letter to home to us describing the school and how students could enter there and work their way. We had a large family, and of course money at that time was hard for people living in the rural areas. And our parents decided that that was the school for us. So my sister Gertrude, as I mentioned, who was the first home demonstration agent in Rankin County, she and I went to Piney Woods.
Okay, have you had any types of association with Piney Woods since you left?
Well, I've never been away from Piney Woods. Piney Woods, being located in Rankin County, was a headquarters for me in teaching, and was my headquarters in working in the United States Department of Agriculture, known as Extension in Mississippi. And students of mine when I taught, and when I entered the home demonstration department, Mr. Jones offered opportunities for such students to come to Piney Woods for a higher education.
Okay, so that when you went to Piney Woods, in what year was that now?
In 1922, when I entered Piney Woods, graduated in 1924 from the high school department.
And you haven't gone on for any further training?
I went
formal.
I went to Jackson College one while, and Tougaloo is my senior college.
Oh, I see. So you graduated of Tougaloo College. But you feel that you got an adequate high school foundation at Piney Woods
Well, I believe the best that could have been done
at that time?
at that time.
I don't know. I don't think I asked you this. Were there any other choices of schools that you could have attended?
Well, yes, but Piney Woods was better for low-income people, and it provided the type of education that would fit one for better service in life.
What other schools could you have gone to in this area? I guess there would be in Utica and.
Well, I went to Utica Institute 1 year. My brother, J.C. Carter, was a graduate of Utica, and of course he finished in professional accountant, and he left Utica and went to Piney Woods and took up the accounting work at Piney Woods. He worked there until 1945, and when he left and went to Michigan.
Yes. Was there a public school that you could have attended in Rankin County? Let's see, did you work in Rankin County or Hines?
Rankin County.
Rankin County. So was there a public school for blacks to go to high school at that time?
Piney Woods was the only high school in Rankin County.
Well, that really makes it, at that time in history, was very significant for black education at that time. If there was no other school around.
There were no other schools around for higher education, and I left for Jasper County and came to Piney Woods. And of course, in Jasper County, there were only the elementary schools from the beginners through the 8th grade.
Do you recall anything about Mrs. Jones during these years that you were there?
Well, Mrs. Jones was a wonderful person. Mrs. Jones made the school as a home for the children away from home.
Yes, I know that when I was at Piney Woods, one very seldom heard of Mrs. Jones. You know, the name Grace Jones. Often, many people didn't know, who that person was. But I understand now that she was very significant in club work throughout the Mississippi at that time.
Well, thinking of the club work, she was a vital part of the women's federated clubs, and that was how I first learned about Mississippi's Agricultural Extension Service, was through prominent people visiting the federated club. It was held there. The National Federated Club was held at Piney Woods, and we had many prominent people coming there, and that was one of the ways that I heard about the Mississippi Extension Service, which was an
So I can imagine that during the years you were at Piney Woods, the school had a very good reputation.
It did, and I believe it still has.
You think it still does have
I
a
think
good
so.
reputation? Mrs. Adams, what aspects of Piney Woods can one compare with other educational institutions?
Well, I believe that with Piney Woods, it still holds fast to man's duty toward man, and they always aspire to the highest type of learning, and I believe that that is the same with other institutions.
Okay, what about some of the traditions at Piney Woods?
Well, Mr. Jones had quotations planted all around the campus, and one of these was a Bible quotation. He has showed thee, O man, what is good, and what doth the Lord require of thee, but to do justly, and love mercy, and to walk humbly with thy God. And these quotations around the school was enough to fire the ambition of anybody that was alive to move to a higher mark of learning.
So, is this one of the traditions that makes Piney Woods Piney Woods?
I believe it is.
Would you say that that perhaps is the value of having educational institutions cling to some of their traditions?
I believe so, because God is the highest power, and He has commanded man to love his fellow man. And without that, I don't believe civilization will be able to continue unless we go to a downgrade.
Well, of course, we don't want that to
No,
happen.
we don't want that to happen.
Do you see any need for institutions such as Piney Woods to make changes for the present society?
Well, to make changes, everybody look for advancement, and I believe that if Piney Woods makes any change, and of course I'm sure you're talking about the secular education part, that they should keep pace with what is going on, that their people may be better prepared to know how to meet the changes.
I know when I was down in Piney Woods recently, I talked to some of the students, and one of the things that they complained about was the lack of change in the area of social relationships. What do you think about that?
Well,
the social life of the student on the campus.
Well, it may be the young folk what is going on, whether it's good for them or not. And of course, Piney Woods cling to the tradition of our duty to man, and the way I see some of the activities of the young people, it doesn't show much that they have any respect of what God has promised and has asked man to do.
Do you think having this feeling for God and a reverence for God is something that is universal? That's needed?
Well, in a way it's universal, and in a way it's not, because as I read different books, magazines about way of thinking, it looks like it's taking away some of the reverence. However, I know that we must change in some aspects, because each area carries its program or its philosophy, and as man grows, he learns different things, and of course they are applied in different ways.
Well, so you're saying this tradition about God is one of the things that is very necessary.
I believe it should be always held as a standard, because He declared in His Word that His Word wouldn't change, and the respect that we should have one for another will not change.
Right.
At least it shouldn't change.
Well, when you were at Piney Woods, what was the social life like?
Well, we had music. We didn't do any dancing.
Not even square dancing?
No.
Well, we square danced when I was there.
Well, now you lived at Piney Woods in a different day. And then I was one of those who had been taught many things were wrong for people to do after they accepted Christ as their personal Savior. However, as I have grown in age, I find that it is the heart that God wants, and not the ways in which you do things, because we do live in a changing world, and we shouldn't be so different that we couldn't meet a change, but always hold God in respect and reverence.
Well, what did you feel about the spirituals, the singing of the spirituals? Is that one of the traditions that was a carryover? I know they still do it now. We did it when I was there.
Yes, the spirituals were sung.
Mm-hmm.
And other things that we had the YWCA, the Christian Endeavor, were some of the things that we had, and they were all pertaining to Christianity. As I might say that I felt that the school was built on the principles of Christianity.
Mm-hmm.
I believe Dr. Jones said at one time that he worked with faith in God.
Mm-hmm.
And any man, as busy as he was, he always took time out for reverence to God.
Yes, good to know. Did you remember hearing Dr. Jones or anybody make any references to Utica Institute or Dr. Jones' earlier career at Utica?
Dr. Jones was a teacher at Utica Institute at one time.
I just sort of wondered, I never heard of it. I think it was Dr. Dansby, somebody was mentioning to me recently that he, was at Utica, and I did read it to check up on that, and I just wondered, why, the story is told as though he just came from Iowa to Piney Woods, he wandered upon Piney Woods. And then nobody ever mentions very much about Utica. And I just sort of wondered if you were aware of anything relative to that.
Well, I don't know anything about it, only that I understand that he worked with Professor Hoskall a while at Utica.
Mm-hmm. Do you recall anything about Professor Hoskall?
Well, Professor Hoskall was quite a prominent man, a great educator at that time. But it was one thing that being at Utica, I didn't find as much of the Christian emphasis on the Christian life at Utica as I did at Piney Woods.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's interesting, because as I have been to both Utica and Prentice Institute as well as Piney Woods, and to see the relative progress that the three institutions have made, it seems like Piney Woods is, at least in physical plant, is far advanced in these other two institutions. What do you think Dr. Jones' overall relationship has been relative to other educational institutions in Mississippi, outside of Piney Woods, that is?
Well, as I think about it, I think it has been most kind. He's been cooperative with other institutes and agencies.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's interesting. I know that he would cooperate with, them in any way that he could, and I remember that reading where he worked with the war effort in the state of Mississippi, and so that he worked with a number of other groups that were very prominent in the state of Mississippi. What kind of assessment do you make of him as a man who was willing to get along with white people?
Well, thinking about some of the things that came into his life in connection with the white people, he was never aggressive,
Mm-hmm.
but humble in his way of dealing with them.
Do you recall anything about Dr. Jones relative to Jackson State College, for example?
Well, in 1971, in the Pine Torch, he released an article on how he helped to get Jackson College started. And I think it was Governor Johnson said he wanted to do something for black people. And he called on Dr. Jones and Professor Blackburn and maybe some of the other educators around, but asked them to meet him in a conference. And Dr. Jones was there. And so he suggested that we needed a teacher's college. And he thought that would be something that he could do to further the higher education of black people.
Well, I want to thank you, Mrs. Adams, for agreeing to participate in our oral history project. And do you have any other comments you'd like to make?
Well, I believe that's all.
Yes, ma'am. I think Mr. Hughes would like to ask you a question.
At the time that you was attending Piney Woods, were the students well satisfied with the school, or did they enjoy going there and have any type of complaints, about the school, or just overly satisfied with it? Total makeup.
Well, I'll say this. There's always somebody to grumble, but the majority of the students were proud to be at Piney Woods for higher learning, because from the communities from whence they came, they had nothing but the church, which was a very fine organization. But to live in this society, we must learn have more education.
In other words, Piney Woods was something like a home away from home, right?
Well, as I have once said, Mrs. Jones made it that way, a home away from home for the children. They cared for the children.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Do you have any other comments anybody wants to make?
What did I say that wasn't right?
Well, everything was right. I just wanted to know.
But I noticed each of you kept kicking one another and winking and blinking I'm an older person, and when I came on, people didn't do that. They taught us that manners was the clothes of the mind. CLOTT clothes of the mind, and of course, if you don't keep your manners, why you're likely to get your clothes off. And I was wondering why. What did I say that made you do that?
Yeah. Okay.
Well, all right.
They do that quite often, but I think that for younger people who have gone to Piney Woods recently, they often do wonder, what was the attitude of the students in the earlier days. Now, I know when I was there was a lot of dissatisfaction, but it wasn't necessarily the type that it is now. Because I think that even when I was there, a number of students didn't have the type of choices for educational opportunities that are available in 1973. And see, like when you were there were even fewer choices, which made Piney Woods,
an
like that was
place for you.
At that time.
If you would get somewhere where you could learn a little more than what you had in the community, it meant something to you. Of course, the people now have more. And I noticed you had a question here about the cooperation with the states. Well, now, that's another thing. The higher institutions of learning didn't have money, and now children get scholarships to their higher institution after leaving Piney Woods in schools like Prentice and Utica.
At the time when Piney Woods was started, actually, most of the white people didn't feel that black people were worth educating. Many of them in the South did not. And when Dr. Jones and people like Booker T. Washington came along, they gave their money to these individuals to work with their people to help them. Now the money goes to state agencies to help black people. To help all people in general.
Yeah.
So I think that's something. I think that's one of the most significant things about Piney Woods, Utica, and Prentice Institute. Is that they came along at a time when they really performed a great service. And perhaps we would not be where we are today educationally had not these types of institutions existed. Go ahead.
Mrs. Adams, I know at this time, there were a large number of blacks who were farming, right?
Right. That was all we had to do was to farm.
And you know, as far as the attitude of parents, were there a large number of young men attending Piney Woods at this time? Because since most of them, you know, had to stay at home and help their parents on the farm, you know, the males at least. And I would say that maybe the females had more time to go to school than the males.
Well, I'll answer you like this. People sent their children to school as they saw the need for education, and you know everybody don't see that need. We had full-grown young men. We didn't have any boys at Piney Woods, so as to speak. When I went to Piney Woods, they were all the way from 18 years old and older.
These were men who themselves had recognized the need.
Well, you know, children stayed with the parents until they got out on their own.
That's right.
See, children used to stay with their parents. They don't stay now.
Well, the males at this time felt that they needed the education. That's why they went to Piney Woods, right?
Right. And it was the only place of that unit in Piney Woods that took people that didn't have anything.
Okay, well, Mrs. Adams, again, I want to thank you for consenting to participate with us so graciously in our oral history project.
Well, I'm thankful if I have been any help to you.
Thank you.
As I told you yesterday, I don't remember as I used to. I have an impediment in my speech, but I'm thankful that I live.
That's right. That's a lot to be thankful for.